Hi, and good evening. My name is Stephanie Stevenson, and today we're going to talk about the reasonable doubt standards and preponderance of evidence. Reasonable doubt helps prove guilt in criminal cases. Beyond a reasonable doubt is what the justice system needs to prove the defendant is in fact guilty of the crime and must be punished for it. They must prove every element of the crime beyond a reasonable doubt, and they must prove that every fact necessary to constitute the crime charged. They must consider that convicting an innocent person could destroy their lives, and they will face judgment for the future. In Weinstein and Dewsbury of 2006 stated in their criminal case that the law tilts in favor of the defendant for a reason. It was preferred some guilty go free, and that not one innocent person be convicted of a crime that they didn't beyond a reasonable doubt commit. Now, preponderance of evidence is used in justification in excuse defenses when the defendant needs to prove that they were justified or could be excused of the crime committed. The preponderance of the evidence is the amount of evidence that is required to prove guilt, which is only 50% that needs to be proven as a reason or justification or excuse of the crime. That amount of evidence is not very great. On another note, I do believe that the standard should be lowered. I do not believe that the standard should be lowered in criminal prosecution. I think that beyond a reasonable doubt is a high enough standard, and all elements have to be proven of the crime in order to prove guilt. I think that if it is lowered, more innocent people would be charged of crimes that they did not commit. The jury can be instructed accordingly. If all elements are met, then they have the evidence in front of them that will lead them and give them the knowledge they need for the truth and whether or not they should convict or not convict. This will help keep innocent people from incarceration and guilty people behind bars where they belong. They must prove the elements, and if they can do that, then they are obviously guilty. If all things cannot be proven, then obviously a conviction cannot be made. As you can see on the screen of our chart, you can see this. Here's a burden of proof pyramid with beyond a reasonable doubt clearly at the top of the ladder as guilt. Next is clear and convincing evidence, which is a firm belief of guilt. Then there's preponderance, which is where we spoke about the 50% of the evidence that's needed. Then there's probable cause, which is there must be some form of facts for an officer or someone to search and arrest. And then next is reasonable suspicion, which is at the very bottom, which is generally used in traffic stops. I think that we can see the differences here with the reasonable doubt and proving beyond a reasonable doubt and preponderance of evidence whether or not it can justify or excuse the crime. Thank you for listening today, and have a good night.